So anyway, so yeah, thanks for agreeing to come on the podcast. So be good to catch up with you because you've got such an awesome story. I think you've got a lot to offer, a lot to share. So this will be quite inspiring for people who watch this our podcast and all of that because. Yeah, you've got a unique field in a way, the field which most people don't really think about or pay much attention to, but the consequences of not doing so are huge, absolutely huge. So yeah, I look forward to catching up on that. So I think this will probably just take four parts in general.
Mm-hmm.
Going through. So the first is just to sort of capture your story pretty much, just
Yeah.
give us a background about yourself, where have you been, where you've studied, what's your field, how you actually came to be doing what you're doing now. So what was life
Right.
beforehand, how you got into this, and how and why. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's just take us through your journey and your life story to begin with. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Um, so that would be the first part. So the second part, just understanding your expertise in business and the things you've done, because obviously you are an author. You've written quite a few books. You do speaking as well. And also consulting and all of that. So
Yeah.
it'll be good to understand your take on the values around that, the mindset around what do you do. The third part, just to talk about any sort of struggles and successes, so any challenges that you faced, or which people can relate to, things that could be similar to what they are going through, and how you've overcome that, so that people maybe can also learn from those kind of things. And
Mm-hmm.
the final part is just general advice you can give to people around, those people who are either already in business or looking to
Mm-hmm.
come into business. Just general
Sure.
tips and quirks of, what can set them apart. Things that they should know,
Mm-hmm.
and to get that cutting edge of mistakes that they should avoid, and just general advice around that.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. So should we kick it off from the first part? Take us through your journey. Yeah.
Just a minute. The third part, struggles and challenges. You want me to focus on entrepreneurship or personal struggles and challenges, or both?
Both. Yeah, you can touch a bit of both. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because normally I was
that's it.
intending to do that as part of my, what do
Mm-hmm.
we say, story, but I
Yeah.
can keep that for later.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Mhm.
So, you want me to start with the story?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, take us through. Let's start with your story. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I originally come from India. I was born in a state called Punjab. I think I will spare you an audience of the names because they will not be any more relevant. But I
Yeah.
was in a small city, or relatively by India's size, small city, and I was born there. I switched cities, countries. By the time I was in year 10, or by the time I was in college, I had been to about 6, 7 cities. So I had fairly mobile lifestyle. We were changing places, we were changing schools, and I at that time didn't know, but it helps you a lot in terms of being adaptable, in terms of switching, understanding different people, different countries. And I always had an aspirational style. What I mean is, I always was very ambitious, aspirational, and to an extent, perfectionist. So
Mm.
that was holding me back in those days. But I did well, did a engineering degree, and then ended up in IT, as most Indian people would do, Indian engineers would do. And around again, as I was mobile in first 5 years, I changed 4 companies, and every time I was changing a company. I was switching again because you get some salary hike and it's exciting when you're young.
Yeah.
So, but you don't realize the value of staying at one place or growing with the company. But I
Mm.
also had the privilege of every company I joined, the first three, they got bankrupt within,
Oh.
or they started to be on. First time I let it be bankrupt. I waited for maybe they will get better. Second
Uh,
time, as soon as it started, I jumped. Third time, as soon as it started, I jumped because I had experience with me. And
yeah.
fourth time, before they got bankrupt or even there was no problem, I switched. And the fifth one then was a big company, and I learned that it's not me, it just happens. Because
Yeah.
at certain point I was like, okay, I have the capability to get companies bankrupt. But
So you're
that's how
putting that to part of your skills, yeah.
I thought so. But then I realized as I started to gain wisdom, it was not me, it was
Yeah.
circumstances, and it does happen when small companies you join, sometimes they struggle. But I learned a lot as I needed to switch forcefully because the companies, and every time I switched, I gained. And then the story continued. And then in 2003, when I joined a large Indian company, I had the opportunity to be in South Africa. And then I
Mm.
started to learn about different cultures. Of course, before that, I moved from North India to South India, and there was a huge shift, huge disparity between cultures, differences between culture. And in South
Well,
Africa, I realized,
even in India itself, yeah, because
yeah,
India
yeah,
is so big, isn't it? Yeah.
exactly, hugely different. So,
Mm.
and it was to the extent that I used to go to, maybe I share you a personal story. I used to go to a
Yes, please.
restaurant, and in the restaurant, I used to ask him for first few days, "Do you have dish A?" And he used to say, and I thought, okay, no. So I said, order the second one because that's generally there. Then a few days later, one of my friend was there, and I saw somebody having dish A, while every day my story was, "Do you have dish A?" He says, and I say, "Okay, he
No.
doesn't have it. Let me order dish B." And then after a week or something, I said to my friend, "I'm surprised. He's having that dish, and
Yeah.
he's telling me no." And then the guy that day understood my language, so that was the difference in language. And he said,
Mhm.
"That's what we think for you every day. You ask A but order B." And I said, "Where's the problem?" So the guy was from North India and he told me, "This means yes."
Ah.
And I didn't
Okay.
know that yes can be this, and yes can also be this, and yes
Yeah.
can also be this, as long as it's moving
Yeah.
with a little bit of twist. So there are different yeses. That's what I learned.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
when I came to South Africa, then I realized the difference, vast majority of culture, and I also started understanding how
Mm.
things can be done in a more seamless and how you integrate across cultures and what my strengths were: communication, negotiation, discussion, understanding people. And I
Mm.
started to leverage it. And then I had the opportunity to be in South Africa for around 3 years. I also got married during that time. And
Mm.
then, as life changes with marriage and with other things, I started to understand that there are some challenges. And I came to Belgium as well. And when I came to Belgium,
Mhm.
as life would have it, I started to learn more and more because Europe is a very different culture. And I started to appreciate differences between cultures, differences between countries. And then I was starting to feel a little bit of a gap in myself because I was doing things, I was growing in the professional corporate environment, but I was also starting to feel I'm missing something. So I
Mm.
chose to do an MBA. And as I chose to do
Oh.
an MBA, I understood something which I didn't understand being an engineer. And it helped me a lot, which allowed me to switch into another company. And then I was doing really well in there.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I was also in the top talents of that company. And
Mm.
I was in the top 25. I think there were 25 or 30 people in that group. And I was also the winner of that group. So I was in the, the candy eye, candy boy,
Mm.
or candy eye of whatever you call it, in front of
Mm.
people.
The
And all
creme de la creme.
Yeah, that's also.
Mm.
So at that point, I was like, I can do something. But then all of a sudden, as life has it, when you hit high, you are supposed to hit low as well. It keeps you in balance if
To
you're not.
balance, yeah. Mm.
So the balance kicked in, and I was in 1 year about to be fired. and it shocked
Oh.
me. It shocked me to the core, because nobody till then, being an ambitious, aspirational, and self-driven, everything, put me in a difficult situation. But now I was in the management position, and then you realize more compared to an employee position. And I questioned myself, do I really want to do this? What are the drawbacks? So I hired a coach, I worked with him, and he explained me. But my attitude, even at that time, was don't tell me I can't do it. Tell me how can I do it? So that
Mm.
skill played in. And then I realized, do I want to be in a company forever and be at the mercy of a manager? Because it's not, I'm thankful to that manager now, but essentially at that point in time, I was like, now this manager and me don't work. Okay, I may have some problems, but everyone else is not, or most of the people are not willing to support me, even though 1 year ago I was the top talent. So what changed?
Mm.
So I'm at the mercy
Yeah.
of the current manager, more or less. Though I found a job at that time and everything, but I decided to change. And as I started to change, I came in touch with the books from Mr. Brian Tracy, who uh, eventually mentored me as well, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, and
Ah.
people like that. And I started reading books like The Power of Clarity, Action Strategies for Personal Achievement. So all the good books from Brian Tracy, and it had a profound impact on me. And
Yeah.
as it started to happen, I think life took a different turn. Then I wrote 4 books. I set myself a goal that I want to be an entrepreneur. I set myself an aspiration to be financially free. I set myself an aspiration to become a better person. And then I learned it doesn't need to be perfect, it needs to be done. Done is better than perfect. And those kind of realizations as I had, I think life changed. And between 2015 and 19, or now we are in 20, I
Mm.
have set up my company. I've written 3 books. I'm writing the fourth one. I'm working on also the fifth one in the concept. So
Mm.
those things started to happen, and I started to become more and more an entrepreneur. And where the
Mm.
value lies is when people around you start to feel the change, start to acknowledge the change, start to appreciate the change, not in your aspirations, but you as a person. And then I realized, as Tony Robbins says, success is 80% psychology and 20% action or business.
Action.
So
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't realize, and I still sometimes question that in those bad days, but I did understand that mindset and behavior or the person you are plays a big part in what you become and how you become and what you achieve. So I've been focused on all that aspect, and since 2014-15, in last 5 years, I've read about 160 books. By the way,
Wow.
I don't read books, I listen to books, because that's
Okay.
first thing which Mr. Brian Tracy said, find out if you're a reader or listener, and that was a key turning moment. I'm a listener.
Mm.
So it allowed me to make a switch and make a change, I think. And here I am, I'm having a job, I'm doing entrepreneurship, I have my company, and I'm intending to grow it and set it up in a way. And I'm also active on social media. I started a podcast. So I'm very, how should I say, pleasantly uh, amazed, fascinated, surprised with what I've been able to achieve because of this transformation that I've had since 2015 in last 5 years. And I'm looking forward
Mm.
to growing and transforming next, because nowadays I'm like, okay, this if this is version 2 of Punit, what would version 3 of Punit look like? Because okay, that's done.
Okay.
Everybody's appreciating now. How do we get to the next level? That's the
Mm.
journey.
Wow. That's very fascinating. I mean, picking from there, it looks like there were
Yeah.
key moments and even key people as well who sort of helped you to make this happen. Especially you mentioned there about mentors and people
Yeah.
that
And I
you.
think a lot of people helped me. Yeah, I
I,
think I in between had the opportunity to be with Mr. Brian Tracy and be coached by him. I've even been endorsed by him.
mm,
I had the opportunity to be have coaching from Tony Robbins, and
wow.
also the European. Not, I mean, when I say Tony Robbins Foundation, not Tony Robbins himself,
Himself.
because
Yeah.
he has a huge structure wherein he coaches coaches, and then the coaches will coach you. So I was in
Yeah.
his senior coaching coaches. So that who coached me, and then
mm,
eventually I had the privilege of working with Rob Moore, the UK disruptive entrepreneur, Paulo Mohani, even Dr. John D. Martini from States,
mm.
and I've
Yeah.
also been in Dr. Joe Dispenza's. I'm a great fan of him as well. So rather
Mm,
than getting boxed in one block, I've had a broad perspective, which allowed me to understand, think about things
mm,
differently, and even Jim Rohn had a huge impact on me. His
mm.
speaking style and his eloquence and his the way he puts concept in a simple way.
Yeah, because he talks a lot about personal development, isn't it? I've studied quite a
Right.
lot of his stuff. So, I mean, for you, what, how do you put the role of mindset? Because it sounds like mindset has been a key, you know, to you in
Yeah.
shifting your mentality, how you look at things. I mean, even that shift itself from being an employee into entrepreneurship. I mean, that is something a lot of people, either get scared of it because of
Yeah.
security or other things, being comfortable in their job and
Right.
something that they do. So how that shift, how easy or how difficult was that for you to make?
I won't say it was difficult, but it happened over time. So when in 2015 I started to listen to Brian Tracy, was saying, have a goal, have a aspiration, and he was talking of a big house, a big car, or things like that, the American way. And okay, now I was looking like, okay, I'm doing what I'm doing, and if I stay in what I'm doing, so at the age of 65, I will have what he's saying. So
Mm,
initially it was like that. Okay, I'm here to improve and so on. But eventually, after a few years, it started to kind of come to me that it's not about sitting and being a duck to be shot
mm,
and waiting till 65, because the world is changing and you can be lucky, a lot of people are, to survive till 65 and
mm,
then have a pension plan and everything, but it will get you there to an extent. But if you really want
mm,
to be aspiring of financial freedom earlier and living life on your own terms, and if you want to really have be ambitious, then you
mm,
can't expect that path to take you along. And then in the mindset, Brian Tracy talks about the planet philosophy, that is, you are the sun that has to run the solar system, and the planets are, okay, it's an adapted version of what Mr. Brian Tracy says. But then you are the sun, and you have yourself, your family, your partner, your vocation, that's profession, your finances, your spiritual thinking, and society and network, all those things together. That's what you need to take. So in your mindset, you don't need to be focused 100% on your what do we say, uh, on your job, like I was 24/7 thinking about job. When I come back, I'm talking about this went bad, that went bad. So I was in a mindset of that job 24/7, and I realized life
mm.
is much more than just a job or just a
Than that.
business.
Mm,
So there are 7 aspects which John D. Martini also talks about. And then I
mm,
started to look at all those things. And then I also said, okay, finances don't only have to come from job. You should create other sources of income. And okay, you
mm,
all wish, everyone wishes that each source is equal to the other one or the primary one, but you have to create them and nourish them and grow them. And that's the mindset which you learn.
mm,
Like first time when I listen, just listen or crucial conversation, then they say, the listening process or thinking process has 5 stages. There's the left brain, right brain, or the amygdala. And I was like, what? It's not possible.
mind blowing.
Mind, no, yeah, first time it's shocking. It's a bookish thing. But then when you hear
Mm,
it consistently in different books, listen to it,
mm,
and then you start to gradually understand, and automatically, since you immerse yourself into an environment, and when you put your hand in a pot of glue, some of it sticks. So since I
yeah.
continued this journey of putting myself daily to 1 to 2 hours listening to these books and exposing
Mm,
myself to new ideas, creative thinking, positive thinking, and also balanced thinking. So it's moved. Earlier, I was looking at it, okay, I need to improve communication, I need to improve listening, I need to improve. And then it started, okay, Brian Tracy says Napoleon Hill says this. Who's this Napoleon Hill? Okay, Think and Grow Rich. Let's listen this.
Mm,
And then I say,
mm,
this author is good. I want to listen to him. And then I said, this is the skill I want to develop. So it evolves, and it's a mindset which you get over time. So it's not easy, as you say. It's a
mm.
transformation, but you have to be
Yeah.
willing to put yourself at in challenge mode. Like I read this secret book, and I started, okay, think and imagine, and it'll happen. And then I
Mm.
realized after a few months, think will work, but with that you have to believe, and with those two you need to act.
Yeah.
So the books talk of a concept at a certain point, but you need to take
Mm-hmm.
the concepts that work with your personality and string
Mm-hmm.
out something called a philosophy. That's your mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
then with that mindset, you need to work together. And if you apply that philosophy and learn from that philosophy, improve that philosophy, enrich that philosophy, and keep applying, keep working, keep taking action, then things happen. So what I call is myself as the way I motivate myself is the think, believe, act. The first is you think very hard, conceive your ideas, make it real, and I apply Brian Tracy's principle saying think on paper. So okay, you can think and meditate and all things, but then you need to write it, because when you write it, it crystallizes your thought, it makes it
Mm-hmm.
real, or it makes you feel where's the gap, because in the mind you're already a millionaire, but when on the paper you put it, you see you're still where you are, or you're starting to see a journey. So
Yeah.
that's the think part. And then the believing part, yes, I'm here and I want to be here, but how do I become? So you have to believe you can go from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second part. And then when you believe, you need to, of course, there are a lot of things you need to have faith and trust, but let's put it in belief. And then you need to take action. An action which may not be corresponding to the result you want, but action which is seemingly small, but it's helping you step by step getting there. And you will not see the way, as it happens when we're driving on a road. We don't, and sometimes it's a downhill or uphill, and we don't see if the road will, it seems like the road will end at the uphill, but as soon
Mm-hmm.
as you hit the uphill you start to see the downhill, and then another,
The
and then
done.
another. It continues. So that's how life is. So you need to
Yeah.
trust what you can see, do your best to get where you can, and then when you reach there you'll find the next one and the next one and the next one. And if you keep following the right turns and with the right elements, right thinking, right beliefs, you are more
Mm.
likely to give yourself a better chance. It's not about you will be certainly successful, but you'll have more chances, and it's about creating chances. Like
Yeah.
if I had continued in job since 2015 only, which I am, but since I took action, I wrote three books. I'm writing my
Mm.
fourth, and I set up a company, and I'm providing consultancy, and I'm an entrepreneur now, and everything. So it has shaped up
Mm.
differently. Now, will I be getting what I want in 2 years, or 3 years, or 5 years, or 10 years? That I don't know.
Mm.
But it's the consistent action which is taking me towards a goal, towards the direction. So it changed my direction,
Mm.
and that's what it is. And more importantly, since you talk about mindset,
Mm.
it's the mindset which is delivering it. This mindset was not there, these feelings were not there, this thinking was not there, and that's the biggest value add. Like it was around 2017, one time I was driving home and my wife said, I've started to enjoy living with you now. Okay, you can talk about millions, you can talk about entrepreneurship, you can talk about mindset, but that's a tangible, credible proof that what
Mm.
you are working on is actually working.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's things like this that you need to appreciate. It's a journey that you need to appreciate while you have a destination in the mind. And as people say, if you shoot for the moon, you maybe will end up in stars. But if you don't shoot and you aim for the earth only, you'll stay on the earth. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Stay on.
believe in. It is the mindset that drives you. And with the mindset, everything changes. But as you say, it is difficult, it is challenging. So you need to give yourself time and without any expectation, immerse yourself into different thinking, different approaches.
Different thinking. Wow, that's a lot of stuff covered there. Just two things to pick up on there, because you
Sure.
probably know some of your peers or colleagues or people that you know who even coming from the same background as you haven't made it or done something similar to what you have done. And it could be one of a number of things, but a couple of them could be one that where do they get the motivation to put themselves onto that? And the second
Mm-hmm.
is, even when they are doing something, but they are not getting the results, because the philosophy, as you have described it, relies on the fact that when you put yourself on a path to achieve something, you don't necessarily have to know or how you are going to get there. Just have the vision and the mind, and then the relevant steps will probably play out rightly to get you there. But for people who have tried something, maybe they failed or did something and it doesn't work, the motivation or all of that can drop. What would you say to people like that? Where can they get that motivation? Or if they are not being successful, do they just carry on, change course, or what can people do?
I think it's success and failure is always relative. I mean, I share the paths which I've been successful, but I've also been failing in things. It's not like I haven't failed in last 5 years. I've probably
Mm,
taken more risk, failed more, and learned more in last 5 years than I ever did before. So it's about
mm,
continually taking risk, continually evaluating if those risks are working or not, evaluating the risk before, during, and after, and then either taking corrective actions or even getting out of things. Because if you know it's not working, and it's not that it is not working, it is not working for you
mm,
because of certain circumstances, the way you are configured, the way you are, the skills you have, and the way you are trying to do it. So
mm.
it's a function
Yeah,
of multiple things. You just can't say it didn't work for me or it is not a good thing. It is a
yeah,
good thing for those who do it in a certain way, and it is not a good thing because you are doing it in a certain way. And
mm,
that's something you need to respect, understand, and appreciate. And if you're convinced this is something you want to do, you adapt, you improve, and you learn, and you
yeah,
change, and make more investments of time, money, energy, effort, everything, and connection. And if you believe you need to change course, you also do that. So you need to stay
mm,
open, you need to stay humble. So
yeah,
if I look at it, I think the first and foremost is have a philosophy. Philosophy meaning that is you're going to give yourself a lot of chances. What I mean by a lot of chances is imagine a farmer. If he thinks,
mhm,
will it rain or will it be sunny? And if he keeps thinking, he will not try.
mhm,
And if he
okay,
doesn't try, nothing happens. And then if he puts seeds and he says, oops, some birds have come, they are going to take, oh, some seeds didn't grow. It's the law of nature. Some will grow, some will be eaten, some will be
mhm,
rotten, sometimes it will not happen, but more
yeah,
often than not a part of the crop will grow so much
yeah,
that it will allow you to reap benefit of everything you've done in last few years or in that year. So you don't
mm,
know if it will rain, you don't know if it will be a drought, you don't know if it will be flood, but what you know is if you put seeds at the right time during spring, there's more
yeah,
chance of it growing because there are more years in which the sunshine and the rain and everything happens on time than it does not. There are more years
mm,
in which there are less no floods than there are floods. So you need to
yeah,
put the odds in context and take it. So have a philosophy. Second is keep reviewing it because it's not like you sow in March and you are going to do it next year also and keep failing. You need to review what didn't work, what worked, and evaluate on a consistent basis. Then, as I said,
mm,
think, believe, and take action on that philosophy. Then persist
mm,
because it will not be easy. I mean, I'm finding out having been an entrepreneur is far more challenging because you are the HR, you are the sales, or rather, I'm the sales, I'm the HR, I'm the invoicing guy, I'm the administration, I'm everything. So I'm
yeah,
everything means I'm the bottleneck. I am the bottleneck and I'm the bottling person as well. So it will be challenging. So you need to persist. Then the question is, as I said, you how do you learn? How do you change your belief system, improve your philosophy? You need to keep learning. Have a mentor who can a little bit take a step back, look at things with a different perspective, allow you to have different perspectives, and more importantly, keep on taking on action, keep on driving things. And if you do that, along with the things that we are talking about here, and
mm,
if you keep on believing still after all that, keep on taking risk, then it's more likely to work than it will not work. That's my
Not
belief.
work.
So it's not
Hmm.
easy, it's not simple, but you need to
Okay.
continually evaluate.
Hmm. That
Like I gave
consistency
you a
and
simple example.
perseverance.
I was to launch, right, and you need to adapt. So I was planning to do a podcast, and I've
Hmm.
been thinking of it since October. I
Hmm.
started interviewing, and I was not sure, do I do it myself? Do I outsource? I had different offers, and I was
Hmm.
about to commit. And then Corona happened. And then I was
Hmm.
like, should I spend this much money on getting it done or not externally? And then
Hmm.
a guest came along who wanted to do it now. And I
Hmm.
said, okay, let me give myself 2 or 3 days. Let me research and let me see if I can do it myself. I researched and I was proud of the fact that I launched my podcast, the Fit for Privacy podcast, in
Hmm.
a matter of 2 weeks without any cost, zero cost, single
Wow.
euro not spent. And then I realized I've saved some money, but then it, okay, and again, done is better than perfect. It may not be 100% perfect by some people's standard who want to be perfectionists, but it's much better than what I could have done. And I'm continuing to evaluate, improve, and so on. So it's a risk, it's a try, and that you need to try. So that's what I would say.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, thanks for that. Now, just let's now touch upon these struggles and successes. So, the challenges and
Right.
the lessons. Can you give us some bits on that, please? Yeah.
Yeah, I think struggle or learning or challenge, it's all part of the life. That's how you have to
Mhm.
take it. Sometimes we say it's challenging, I won't do it. Or sometimes in like Jim Rohn's thing, we say, I wish it was easy. No, I wish I had more skills to do the difficult things. So that's the
Hmm.
adaptation you have to do. So rather than you cannot expect things to be easy. That's given. It will not be easy. If it was easy, everybody will do it. Everybody would be an entrepreneur. Everybody would be a millionaire. Not 90% people are not millionaire because of a reason. So if you want to do things which 5% or 4% or 3% population are doing, you need to do things differently. And it will not be easy, because easy is sitting in and waiting for things to happen. So it will not be easy. That's the first thing we need to understand.
Hmm.
Second, of course, when you say challenge, yes, challenges are on the way, not in the way. That is, it's not blocking you. It's there, and you need to get over it, and then you're forward. It's like the hurdles race. So when you're running in Olympics, or these are hurdles that you need to cross, because these hurdles will grow you, make you better, and improve you to face new hurdles which are a little bit higher, a little bit difficult. But if you don't cross this one, the next one will be even more difficult. So God or universe, it puts the right hurdles at right time for you to grow. So you cannot say it's challenging you or difficult. It is difficult, it will be difficult. So you have to accept that from the start. There
Hmm.
will be risks, and you need to manage them, and you need to have your mindset configured to manage it. And like I gave you the podcast thing, same way, and since I've become an entrepreneur, it became a huge challenge for me. I thought I was spending time, and good amount of time every day, but I didn't see the results. Now it's very painful, because you have aspirations, you set them, put the money, you put the time, you put everything, and the results are not coming. And I said, okay, where am I spending time? Let's look at it. So that's the mindset comes in. You say the challenge is there are no sales, the challenge is there are less clients, the challenge is, or the other way of looking at it, it's not working, let's stop. That's also a way. But I always looked at it, what do I have to do to make it work, rather than it's not working and I should stop.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, what am I doing? And then I started to note down, write down different activities that I do. I classified them. And then one of my coaches said, Paulo Mohani said, you need to be spending time in front of clients, or activities that get you in front of clients. I said, but
Hmm.
I'm on social media. That's being in front of clients? No, things that get you in front of client and talking one on one. Okay, good. So
Oh.
I started to note down each and every activity that I do. And proudly, I can say I think it's 132 days or 133 days now that I've been doing it and monitoring it. So I have a list of 20 activities that I monitor, and I've classified them into something called administrative activities, which are need to be done.
Mm.
I can outsource them at a later point, but not all of them. Then there are branding activities wherein I need to be in front of more people. I don't know who's my client, but some of them are clients, some of them are prospects, and some of them will tell my client. So there's the branding aspect. And then there's the learning aspect. The learning aspect meaning I need to refresh my privacy knowledge, I need to refresh my or add to my privacy knowledge, add to my entrepreneurship knowledge, and keep my mindset fresh, keep my mindset positive, because every day is not easy. So as challenges come, you get to feel down. So you need to keep learning, keep immersing yourself in new ideas, new concepts. And then finally, the earn, that is the billable work, the hours you put actually in getting money out, and the feeding in the administration, feeding in the branding, and feeding in the learning. So that's how, and I call it the ABLE framework, ABLE: administer, brand, learn, and earn. And
Mm.
coincidentally, the earn comes in the end. So,
Yeah.
so once you've done
Yeah.
all the three, you hope, you wish, you earn, but not other way
Mm.
around. It is not like earn and then I will do administration, then I will do the branding, and then I will do the learning. It doesn't work like that. The framework
Yeah.
coincidentally came out like that. And I wanted to, I just put it, and it was completely in the other opposite action, because I had written earn first because those are the earning
Mm.
activities. I was like, if I make it an acronym, it will work well. And then I saw
Yeah.
it is already an acronym if you look bottom up.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
it's you need to keep yourself motivated. And when you say motivated, motivation, I think more than motivation, you need inspiration.
Mm.
Because motivation is external. You can motivate yourself and then it will go away because it's external. But inspiration
Mm.
is inside. If you're driven, if you know yourself, if you know your values, if you know who you are, what you are aiming for, and you're confident that's what you are looking for, not this,
Mm.
not that, then you stay focused, and then you are inspired from inside. You
Yeah.
have the burning
Mm.
desire, like
Yeah.
the think and grow rich. So you have a deep desire and determination, and that's going to drive you. Motivation is okay, you went to a seminar, you liked it, it's very nice. Today you are motivated, tomorrow, yeah, I want to do it. Day after, yeah, I'll do it next in the next week, and then a few weeks later you are in the next seminar, or not,
Mm.
or the life gets in the way, and then
Mm.
it disappears. So for me, motivation tends to disappear. It's the inspiration that you need to find internally. So that's inside.
Yeah.
It's a burning desire, and you keep burning it, and you keep
Mm.
bringing things along, the things we've talked about, the philosophy, the mindset, the thinking, the beliefs, the everything, and that keeps burning. That keeps getting you where you want to, and that keeps feeding you with new ideas on how to get there.
Mm.
So for me, it's inspiration that works. Inspiration derives your motivation. Yes, you're aspiring for achieving that, but it's inspired to be motivated for this, rather than I'm motivated to become a millionaire. Yeah, it
Mm.
probably won't work because it's all external. That. But what will you get? Why do you want to do it? It has
Yeah.
to be internal.
Yeah. You have to be inspired. Oh,
Yes.
that's quite the insight for that. Yeah. Thanks for sharing
Thanks.
that. No, um, now, two things from there. What do you think is the role of education within that? And also, have you had any ventures that have failed and haven't worked, and you've had to abandon and start something else?
Yeah, I think it happens. So the first part of your question is uh, talking about one is talking about ventures that failed.
Yeah, and then the role of education, like how
Education,
important
yeah,
is
it
education,
depends.
like to do courses or any kind of education.
Okay, I think then we need to put it in perspective. There's the traditional education system that we go to a college, or that has
Hmm.
certain amount of relevance and value that brings in. And then there's the self education, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's the thing which you learn by having a coach, a mentor, by talking to people,
Mm-hmm.
going for courses, private courses and things. So I think you need to put everything in balance. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot say this is good and that is bad. Everything has a role. If you have an educational certificate or a degree, it does bring certain amount of credit, but it may not bring you the practical knowledge which a coach or a mentor can help you. But if you have a coach and a mentor, he will meet you every day, or not every day, every week or every 2 weeks, and in half an hour he cannot or she cannot change you inside out. That's your own job. So that's why I talk about self education and self learning. And that's where I talk about immersion. Immersion meaning you need to put yourself daily, in fact hourly if possible, in a scenario that you are looking at things improving, bringing new ideas, new concepts into your life, listening to a few books, looking at which skills you have to improve. So it's a mix of everything that you have to have. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
rely on mentors and hope things will work. You cannot rely on an MBA or an engineering and hope things will work. And you cannot also rely on I will sit, meditate, or I will just learn and things will work. You need to have the right balance of each and everything. And even in the entrepreneurial education, you have to understand different elements. If someone comes along and saying let's come to this business mastermind or social media mastermind or marketing mastermind, you have to understand these are different things. You need to know sales, you need to know hiring, you need to be HR, you need to be entrepreneurial, you need to be good in your business, and you need to be good in social media. You need all, and speaking. So you need all those elements.
Mm.
And then maybe you want to do a podcast, so that's another skill.
Yeah.
You need to look at it as skills, have that list which you want to have, and then for each of those skills make your plan on how you're going to get it. Maybe you'll say podcast I will do it myself, or podcast I will learn externally. Entrepreneurship I will do it this way, financials I will do it. But you have to make yourself a 360-degree person, and you have to pick
Mm.
and choose, and also choose what is needed now. Maybe you
Yeah.
need sales now, maybe you need marketing now. It depends on the business you are in. And once you have
Mm.
that list, you need to prioritize it and keep working on it. But and it doesn't work in sequence. It's not one after the other. So some are primary focus, some are secondary focus, some are tertiary focus. At a certain point, when the primary has grown to a level, then you work on the secondary, and the secondary becomes primary. It's a complicated thing, but I hope you
Yeah.
I'm able to express myself. It's like balloons. You fly them up and hope they
Mm-hmm.
will sustain. Some of them will sustain, and some of them you will need to fill them up with the replaceable ones. And
Yeah.
then it takes shape, and you start to learn. And the best thing is, with all this education that you have, when you put it
Mm-hmm.
into practice, you'll see some of it works and some it doesn't. So what doesn't,
Yeah.
you learn. What does, you learn, and then you improve. And now
Mm.
you are also, but I mean, I would close at that saying, be in
Yeah.
balance and know how to use it, and not fall into trap of this versus that. It's everything
Mm-hmm.
you need. And
Yeah.
also you need to balance out your finances on what you need, mindset or entrepreneurship or marketing or podcast or social media, or maybe and. But if you do all of the ands, you'll do courses for 1 year.
Mm.
That's also a way, if you can afford it.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
regarding ventures, I mean, you try different things. So I was into this property thing, and I understood, or I expected, or at least people told me that you can make good money. And what I learned is there are different strategies: the buy, refurbish, rent, or buy and rent, or
Mm-hmm.
rent or rent to service accommodation. So I tried a few things. I learned a lot from people. Some things worked and some things didn't. Some things I lost and some things I made money. And then
Mm.
as I lost, reflected upon what's the lesson learned, meaning what did I do well and I should have done it again? What
Mm-hmm.
did I not do well and I should do it next time? And what did I not do and shouldn't do it? And what is a new thing I should do so that I can improve, I can learn, and I can grow? And sometimes then you say, so I failed in one venture, and then I started the second one, and I started with a different person, and then I started the third one, and then after three times it didn't work, and I said, Okay, what's going wrong? So it's the philosophy
Mm-hmm.
with which I was working, because my philosophy was to outsource and manage through external people. But that what it does is it ends up eating up the margins, because the margins
I
are not
see.
as high as some people tell you, because
Mm.
people tend to give you their best case, and you are
Yeah.
not always going to be lucky to have the best case. The chances are you're going to have the average or the worst case, because best case is when you've gained experience, you've gained knowledge, and you're doing everything by yourself. And if you're not doing all by yourself, you're likely to cut out on profits, make losses, and so on. So then you have to see, is it the business or is it me? But again, if I'm setting up an entrepreneurship business on privacy and I want to make earnings on property, so then I have to choose options in which I don't spend time,
Mm.
or relatively very little time. And if I'm spending very little time, either I outsource or I do an option in which there's less involvement of time. So then I understood that if I'm outsourcing and I'm not knowing too much, then people are not so much what they tell you.
Yeah.
So that's a reality. It's like anything
Mm.
else in life. So there's a sales part and there's a delivery part and there's a reality. So it's very easy in Excel to draw images, draw monthly rents and drop it, and it looks
Yeah.
very nice,
Yeah.
500 euros or 1000 euros or 1000 pounds coming in. But in
Mm.
reality, it's not an Excel. It's very different. It's number of bookings, number of things. You need to evaluate.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of ventures in property. I think three or four of them, and I can safely say two didn't work. One got hit by Corona,
Mm.
and then in function of corona and in view of the next requirements I'm looking at it, and in view of that I want to run it in a hands off mode, is it worth? Okay, I also know, I've been some people have taken advantage, some have cheated, and some have been genuine. So I've had my full share, and one was working very well, but then corona came. But you need to
Mm.
build in resilience for everything, and you don't need to
Yeah.
say, okay, now corona is there, I will keep investing. You need to evaluate and then take
Yeah.
decisions. So in the buy rent, it worked well, but in the others, it hasn't.
Mm.
And I know people will say, you didn't work with me, you didn't work with me. But
Yeah. Mm.
for me, everyone was equal. It was based on who responded quick, who responded fast, and who was being more genuine, more answering the queries I had at that time. Okay, I
Mm.
didn't have enough queries. Now I realize, but at least there were some who answered, and I worked with them at that time. I made right decisions and wrong decisions, but in the end, the model in which I was working, it didn't work. So there are ventures like that in you fail, even in my books. So three books I wrote. One is an all-time bestseller in the privacy ebooks. The second one
Mm.
is ninth in all-time bestseller in the privacy ebooks. So I can safely say that the book which is not in the list, the amount of energy, amount of promotion, amount of marketing I put in was less.
Mm. Yeah.
So the book that was in that is an all-time bestseller is because I spent 3 months thinking through in my car every day, and I didn't write anything. Then I wrote it on paper, then I started writing it, and then I envisaged it, then I evaluated it, then I spent multiple reviews and so on. Okay, it was not perfect, it was done,
Mm.
and then it went out. So there was a lot of diligence behind it. The other one, I did the first part right, thinking and design, but in the execution, I wrote it quickly because I was meeting a timeline.
Yeah.
It didn't work, not in any list. So,
Mm.
and again, even if I had put the due diligence, it doesn't matter that doesn't mean it will always be successful. So that venture also failed. So there are on an ongoing basis, or even on a daily basis. I was with a client few weeks ago. I started. So sorry, there's some thing happening on my phone. So let's
It's like,
quieten it, otherwise it'll keep.
it's okay.
So yeah, sorry for that. So clients. even with clients, sometimes there are challenges. So I had a couple of weeks back, at the same time, on the same day, two clients came in. One was
Mm-hmm.
a acquaintance and one was a completely new client. Both asked me to work. I explained almost both the same things and I started working on them. One at the end of it said, "When will you send me the invoice?" And the second one, when I asked him where to send invoice, he was like, "I never asked you to do the paid work. I only asked you for a proposal," while he had a
Ah,
consulting. So you will get bad people, you will have bad ventures, but it doesn't
mm,
mean I will stop working.
yeah.
Now, what did I do differently? And now I can't even correlate saying I did differently because it was the same situation in two clients. One worked and one didn't.
Mm,
But you
ah,
still have to learn to say, okay, it's better next time to agree on what you are doing and align better on expectations, because
mm,
the expectations were a little bit informal,
yeah.
but the documentation or the end produce was the same. But
Mm,
it's also the person, it's also the situation, and it's also a little bit of me. So the little bit of me has to be fixed. Little bit of
yeah.
situation will happen. Little bit of the person will also happen. So you can't
Mm,
blame the person. It happens. It's life.
mm. So you control the parts that you can control because anything else is external. It can go either way. But at least your situation or your part, you get to sort out and make sure it's all good. Yeah.
Spot on, Alex. Exactly. You picked the right thing.
Mm,
There are things I control what I do and the way I behave. I don't
mm,
control the situation. I can influence
mm.
it, but I do not
Yeah.
control what the other person says. So I have to focus on the right
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Cool. So just now moving to the part of advising, entrepreneurs or people in business in terms of what would be your other business advice or personal advice on what does it take for them to have that cutting edge competitive advantage to do well in whatever it is that they are doing.
I think I'll link back to what I said. You need to do five things. Maybe I was not elaborate on that, but you need to have a philosophy, as I said, and keep reviewing it from time to time. That's the first thing you need to do. So have a
Mm-hmm.
framework with which you want to operate. Second is you need to be thinking, believing, and acting inconsistent with your framework and your values. So that's the second
Yeah.
thing. The third thing you need to do is you will need to persist because there will be risk, there will be challenges, and there will be issues on the way. So you need to be
Mm-hmm.
prepared for that. The fourth thing you'll need to do is you'll need to immerse yourself, like you brought in the education dimension, different elements of education, the self, the standard system, and the external system, and knowing what you're looking at. So if you do those four things and persist and continue while learning, while doing, and fifth is continue to do these four things iteratively. It's not like my philosophy is done, it's plastered, and I'll put it on a wall, think, believe, act, it'll be
Mm.
okay. No, think, believe, act has a philosophy behind, has a meaning behind, and that meaning needs to change daily.
Yeah.
I'm learning books, and it's not like if I say any author, he's the best and I will only listen to him. No, you need to listen to him because you like him, but you also need to listen to somebody else and see what you can learn. Sometimes you don't like it. So put yourself a little bit in the uncomfortable zone. So, and also get out of your comfort zone. If you do those five things consistently, have a philosophy, think, believe, act consistently with your philosophy, be ready for risks and challenges, manage them, persist on with your think, and read books, immerse yourself, and continue to do these things on a daily, recurring, regular basis. It's like an apple a day. So
Mm.
keeps you healthy, wealthy, and all those things. But it's daily. It's not like, and you
Yeah.
don't need to be foolish like, okay, I didn't eat any apple today, I didn't follow my philosophy today and nothing happened. The thing
Mm.
is, if you don't follow it for 100 days, then the disaster starts to come.
Yeah.
And when you follow
Mm-hmm.
it for like, I give you an example. I was listening to a book. There's a drop of water which falls on a stone and nothing happens.
Mm.
But if you go to caves or mountains, you'll see with that drop of water coming in on that stone daily, the
Mm-hmm.
stone has already started to kind of change its shape,
Mm.
change its thing, and sometimes it has cut through the. So when it happens for centuries or when it happens for years, even that single drop of water which seems to look like it's hitting the stone, it's hitting the stone and nothing is happening, but if it happens every second, every minute, every hour, and happens for years and years, even the stone has to change its shape to give the water way the way it wants. So that's the
Mm.
persistence, that's the determination you need to have.
Mm. Wow, that's very, very insightful. That it's
Thanks.
definitely something. Now you can picture it and see the sense in it. Because even when you study the world, this is how the world has been shaped through movement
Right.
of parts
Yeah.
which were once together, and then some shifted over centuries to make all these different continents. So that's really really good. Now, just to finish off, maybe give us a bit more on your part of your technical expertise around data and privacy. So just give us the dimensions and the parts involved in that, and why it's also important, and how and why businesses should actually take it seriously.
Okay. Each one of us as businesses are working with data. And data, I mean, you have the name of your, like you're organizing this podcast, you had my name, your my email, you'll get my photo, and you'll have, so all these things we collect, and we collect data as business. And
Mm-hmm.
today, data is being collected every moment on social media everywhere. What we need to do is we need to respect that data and use that data for right purposes. That's essentially privacy. And when we do that, we do it in a transparent way, we do it in a respectful way, in a responsible way. Of course, the law defines what is responsible, what is transparent, and what is accountable, and all those things. And there are rules and laws, everything. And that's what I help people with. How do you use data in a responsible way while keeping trust of your customers and being transparent? So you don't have to hide things, you don't have to manipulate things, but you need to be transparent. And how do you do this privacy thing is, it's like people say, I've done my project, I will do it at the start. It doesn't work like that. It is when you submit your accounting returns, you do it either monthly or quarterly. Not like I will do it once a year. You do it quarterly, diligently, and you collect your bills regularly. That's the same thing with privacy. It's a set of rules you need to follow daily, and then you need to align and consult with people, and that's what then I offer. I offer companies, assist them to get a plan, decide what needs to be done, put a process, and then if they need, I provide what is called a fractional privacy officer, because some companies they don't need full-time privacy officer, they maybe need 1 hour a month, or just
Mm.
they need a confidence that there is somebody who understands us, who knows our business, and he will be
Yeah.
available when we need. So I charge a
Mm.
nominal fee, and I'm there available for them. And as and when they come, then certain amount of time is allotted. Like if
Mm.
somebody pays me 49 pounds, then you can't expect time, but I'm there when you ask me, and we will charge for the time. But
Yeah.
so there are different models. So I provide that fractional privacy because I'm there for small and medium businesses as one
Mm-hmm.
segment. And
Yeah.
that's what I offer. And of course, if there are privacy professional, then I coach them, train them, and all those things. But for small and medium companies, which is also your audience, I
Mm-hmm.
provide fractional services and services to make it practical and doable.
Mm.
Because with some large corporates, they charge tens and thousands and hundreds and thousands of euros and
Mm.
pounds. And I know small enterprises would like quick, simple, practical, and actionable business oriented advice, because they don't want to hear, I want to create a mailing list and you can't create it. I want to
Mm.
create a mailing list. Now, how do I create it in a privacy compliant way while getting business? That's
Mm.
what I help people with in terms of
Yeah.
privacy compliance, if it makes sense in a very abstract way.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely does. Thanks for that, Punit. So, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media. I'm there on
Yeah.
most platforms. If they search Punit Bhatia Privacy, they will find me. But if they
Hmm.
really want to get in touch with me, the best platform is LinkedIn
Yeah.
or an
Okay.
email, that is info, info at punit.com. And as I'm here, I give them a quick check if they are
Yeah.
being sincere on privacy or not. Because last week I was looking at, or last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I've looked at about 150 websites of some small entrepreneurs in marketing space, less than 200 people companies. And I went to their websites. The first thing I look at is, do they have a privacy statement? I could find about 30% companies who didn't have a privacy statement. So I know what sincerity they have.
Mm.
About
Wow.
30%, other 30% didn't have a good one. So I knew
Mm.
how they got it. And about 4%, they had the same privacy statement. So they bought it from somewhere and using it without knowing what it is.
What's that?
So,
Wow. Mhm.
so think before you act and
Mm.
use good advice, good people. And
Yeah.
if they find me, info@punitbhatia.com, or they can
Yeah.
also listen to my
Uh,
podcast, the Fit for Privacy podcast, and I share some tips and information on how to become
on there.
compliant.
Yeah, because the consequences of this can be enormous for businesses. Yeah, just give us a bit of that. How bad can it get for businesses?
Oh, okay. So you want me to scare people?
No, just to
Well,
give them that awakening. Yeah.
yeah, that awakening, I think, uh, the okay, let's do the both. What you're saying, the scary and the benefit part. The scary part is, yes, it says 4% of global turnover or 20 million, whichever is higher. So now a company making, say, 500,000 a year would think it's not for me, because 4% would be what, 125,000 and 500 of 500,000. It's okay. I'll think about it if it happens, because it will happen in a lifetime. So they
Mm,
can think of it. But it also says if you've been diligently negligent, that means purposefully negligent, not listening to the advice and so on. So there's a possibility to be fined 20 million. So a company earning half a million having to pay 20 million can only go bankrupt.
yeah.
So there is a
Yeah.
possibility of that. I don't use that to scare it, but there's that. But on a positive side, I mean, of course, that's true, and it's in the law, and you can be fined, and people say, I will not be. Yes, you will not be, but if you're diligently negligent, purposefully
Yeah.
negligent, you will be
Mm,
fined and you'll go out of business. But more
yeah.
importantly, customers are asking for it. I was reading
Mm,
some stats. 1 in 3 customers in US, where there's no privacy law, are starting to pull back business from companies who are not trusted on privacy practices.
mm,
Another stat I had was the companies who have invested in privacy, they've got return in terms of reduction in sales, what do you say, delays,
mm,
reduction in customer complaints, and reduction in other things. And they state, and it's a
mm,
survey that I read, they state the return on investment of money spent on privacy is at least 2.5 times. So if you're
mm,
spending 10,000 euros, they believe 25,000 has come back and even more. And the larger companies are saying multiple millions. So it's both ways. One, you run the risk of fines, and second, you run the risk of trust. And I think the trust of customer is more important. Transparency
mm,
expectation is more important.
yeah.
And I generally position myself as helping customers to keep trust of their clients, their
Yeah.
people who are they are working with, rather than the fines part, because I think that's definitely there. But you need to work from a trust perspective, as I said, from an inspiration perspective rather than a threat perspective. Because if you do the
Right.
threat part, you'll do it and you'll say, okay, done. But if you do the
Mm,
other part, you'll stay in touch, remaining privacy compliant.
yeah.
That's what I
Mm.
believe in.
Yeah, because that's what helps you to build those long-lasting relationship with your clients as well, isn't it? And you can get that add-on business of them recommending you to their friends, their family, and that's how you can build a network as well. So, is there anything else that you had planned to talk to us today that I haven't addressed, or have we pretty much covered what you have planned?
I have done more than what I planned, because I had
Right.
very you mentioned that I should not prepare and I should come natural. So I've come natural.
Yeah,
I just became
absolutely.
prepared some notes around my
Hmm.
the challenges or the advice part, and that I've
Yeah,
shared. And your
yeah,
questions kind of allowed a free flow chat, which is what we
yes.
wanted, because people love it. So I think
Yeah.
I've shared everything, but if there's anything people want to get in touch with me, feel free
Hmm.
to get in touch with me, ask me.
Yeah.
Yes, my business is privacy, but I also love to talk about philosophy
Yeah.
and other things as it's becoming evident. If even if
Mm.
somebody wants to have a chat and understand privacy, it's a good
Yeah.
idea to have a quick chat and conversation.
Yeah. Perfect. Now, thank you very much for that, Punit. Yeah, really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and you've given us very insightful tips there, and on business and entrepreneurship and mindset. So, thank you for that. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. And any people looking for you, you've got the information there, and we'll contact you and get more information as you've stated. So, thanks for that. Have enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much for your inviting me and having me, being patient, having a wonderful conversation, and doing this work of bringing messages to people in a very eloquent way, in a very structured way, because this podcast that you're doing will help people and entrepreneurs to become
Yeah.
better and to grow their businesses and improve on the mindset, improve on the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial skills, and address challenges as they go along. And it'll help them get stronger.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Perfect.
doing your
Thanks for
job
that,
and, of
Puneet.
course, having me.
All right. Thanks, Puneet.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Alex.
Thanks. All right. Bye.